Welcome to For Those About to Brawl, the MMA and boxing podcast from Manchester, England. The show is brought to you by the triple threat of Is, Den and Chutney. The show will focus on all things combat, including reviews, previews, opinions and everything in between. Isra, how are you doing?
Look, I'm sick of you asking me that every week, yeah. I keep telling you and my fans, follow me at MMA boxing _ if you want to know how I am. Don't ask me that again, yeah.
Someone's not feeling too good this week, folks. Hope you calm down for the rest of the show.
I'm missing Game of Thrones today.
We'll make sure it's a good one then. Chutney, how are you keeping?
Yeah, I'm very well, thanks, Dan. And thank you very much for asking. It's very kind of you. Enjoying the beautiful Manchester weather, although it was raining about 5 minutes ago and probably will be in another 5.
Absolutely. Fans, thanks for listening, tuning in. Remember to check us out on Twitter, FTAB News. And the music you heard on the way in was from Secondhand Guns, a Manchester band who supporting the show. So thank you very much. So, gentlemen, another big UFC event in the books. We had UFC 214 from Anaheim, California, where I think it's safe to say we saw the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter fight the number 2 pound-for-pound fighter, where Jon Jones defeated Daniel Cormier. What's your view on the fight?
Oh, it was amazing, wasn't it? As a Jon Jones fanboy all my life, I was just impressed so much, you know. I was anti-DC going in, and I'm glad he cried at the end.
Oh, behave.
God.
He's a big crybaby, and I hope his meme, whatever you call it, I hope it replaces Michael Jordan.
Fair enough. Chutney, what's your view on the fight?
Meme.
Are we on a level where you can take the piss out of me? You
Finding meme.
Great fight.
Yeah.
If you remember last time, well, having watched the fights, I realised that all of my choices were heart choices rather than head.
Yep.
Bit foolish from me. But Daniel Cormier was much better than I think people probably would have thought. Looked great, knew how to handle Jon Jones, but in the end, well, he thought he knew how to handle Jon Jones, and so did I. But in the end, there's only one winner.
So what would you think the view was on the scorecard? So in going into round 3, I personally I think 1 round each. What about you, Is?
I do 1 round each. I think Jon Jones come out with the blitz early on.
Yep.
Very impressive. I thought, oh God, it's not going to go out of a round here. DC gathered himself.
Yep.
Like you say, I had it 1-1 going into that 3rd round. And then Jon Jones took it to the next level, didn't he?
Yeah, what about you, Chutney?
I had Cormier for both.
Did you?
And I put him down for the second one. I was like, oh wow, I put him down for the first as well. First 2 rounds. I was really surprised. But he's picking his shots, got good shots in, shots that I didn't think he'd be getting in, that Jones certainly didn't think he'd be getting in.
Yeah, he clipped him a few times.
Yeah. Moving forward constantly, he looked great. Jones looked confident, but he wasn't landing like Cormier was. But yeah, it's good. But Jones, one of his best attacks was that long left hook to the body that he was doing. If you probably heard him say that if he's always talking about Cormier's midsection.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
If it looks soft, it is soft.
Yep.
That's what he says.
Amen.
And and he was going for it.
Yep.
And he wasn't hiding it. And I think it was getting in places, but that kick was superb.
Yeah, it's interesting.
There's only so much you can do. You can't last 5 rounds missing those.
No, it's interesting as well when these coaches and Jones has both said after the fight that they knew that Cormier ducked down to that side and they were waiting, timing it, and then suddenly a shin to the side of the head. There's nothing he could do.
Nothing whatsoever. It's just, we've seen it time and time again with Jon Jones as well. But I think DC, the nemesis, if you like, bought something out of the beast, Jon Jones, and therefore, you know, Jon Jones was on a mission to maim, and he was uber aggressive, so to speak, in his attack. And
just on your comment then about the beast, we'll come back to potential next opponents for Jon Jones, the other beast. It's on the UFC rota. So, what's next for DC before we talk about Jones?
At the end of the fight, let's talk about the end of the fight.
Yep.
Shambolic, in my opinion.
Really?
First of all, Bruce Buffer. What was that line? And now the new, and again new, light heavyweight champion of the world. Just sound idiotic.
Yep.
Then on to Joe Rogan, who classlessly grabs Daniel Cormier. I've seen since that he has completely admitted that he made a
he's
massive
apologised,
mistake
hasn't
doing
he?
so.
And props to him for admitting
Yeah,
that.
I agree with that entirely. But at the time, I can still criticise it now.
Yeah,
It was an awful thing to do. The state of
No, it
DC,
wasn't fair, was it?
and he just wanted him to say, "I'm going to retire," and give him, and maybe give him that opportunity in front of fans to say, "Right, that's it. Now I'm going to retire." Because he even said to him, "Thanks for everything."
Yeah, he did.
At the end of it. So well, hold on a second. He's not retired there. But yeah, next for Cormier, retirement.
You think so? You think he's done?
What's he going to do next?
That being said, though, he's not alluded to any retirement or anything.
No,
and I think he'll, DC being the man that he is, I think he'll want one last fight.
Oh, just generally.
Just
Right,
generally,
okay.
you know.
Not
I
go out
don't
on
think
the
he
loss.
wants to go out as the crybaby who got battered by John Jones. I think he wants to go in the UFC octagon one last time, head held high, have one last major fight, hopefully win,
Yep.
and then give
light
a
heavy.
true speech. Could be light heavy. He was undefeated at heavyweight.
Yep.
He was the Strike Force, Grand Prix heavyweight winner, be it as a default who came in, so to speak. But he could bounce around.
Has anyone seen the overhead clip of DC just as he was out, and then as he got back up, trying to get out of the cage, and then he was fighting with the guys who come in, the officials, and then it's pretty unsettling.
So apparently DC believed that he wasn't knocked out.
Yeah, he thought it stopped early, didn't he?
And he blamed John McCarthy.
Yeah.
I thought that was the
for
case.
stopping the fight early, and therefore the video footage shows him almost charging John McCarthy, and you could see as well when he'd decide in the video to stand next to McCarthy while he raises John Jones' hand, and then he thought, no, I'm not standing it, and then he moved away, and then he went back, and then he stormed off again. I think Dana had to cool him down as well and calm him a little bit.
Well, that shambles at the end of the fight, I think, started with the number of shots that McCarthy let Cormier take before he stopped the fight. I'm not necessarily saying he shouldn't, and I think he let him take those shots because he's the champion, and this is the biggest fight of his career. And if he's going to get out of him, give him that opportunity.
Yep.
But he did. He was heavily concussed. He's there crying, probably part of the concussion. He's kicking off with Dana because of that. He's kicking off with Big John because of that. I don't like it.
No.
I don't like these going on. I understand why he's done that. I think Cormier will say to him afterwards, I appreciate you letting me take all those shots.
I think he did as well. I think in his comment he said, thank you for letting me try and, stay in there as long as
I
possible.
don't like it. I do not like it. I mean, you do serious damage to someone there.
No, I agree. Do you think that on Saturday night we saw the official crowning of the best pound for pound fighter ever?
I think I've long said it. John Jones is my personal, at the moment, favourite fighter other than Conor McGregor.
Yep.
And therefore, I'm biased towards it. But I've always thought the competition that he's gone through over the last 5 years, the guys he's stopped, the guys, at one point, light heavyweight was a murderer's row of competitors.
Yep.
It's gone a bit light now,
Yep.
and that's the only reason it's gone a bit light is because John Jones has got
Gone
rid
through
of
everyone.
everybody.
Yeah, I agree.
So, the valid choice is obviously John Jones and Demetrius Johnson, and that's the argument that's back and forth, who is pound for pound.
But all time, don't you say, really?
Yeah, I think. Well, at the moment, I don't think.
Unless you're saying DJ, then there's an argument.
No, I'm not saying DJ at all. I think, that division it's not as stacked as light heavyweight always has, but there's John Jones's name is in the hat. There's a few GSP at welterweight, Anderson Silva middleweight. They've all cleared their divisions.
Yep.
But John Jones has just done it in a different manner.
Yeah, personally, I think he's the greatest fighter ever. What do you think, Chutney?
I do.
Yeah.
I personally don't think there's any argument there. Even with years off because of
That's
various
crazy,
things,
isn't it? Yeah.
It still seems like a whirlwind coming through. He's 28.
Yeah, 28,
now.
29 or something. Yeah, he's young still.
He's still young for light heavyweight. He's not had the battering that other people who've been 10 years in the sport have had.
No, definitely not.
And because he's finished so many people and they just can't get their hands on him.
Yep.
He can still do more. I'm not interested in Brock Lesnar. I think that's a load of rubbish anyway.
Do you reckon?
So I hope we're not planning on talking about that.
It's definitely going to happen, I think.
Bullshit.
Oh, okay.
Do you really think that?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, 100%, and I can't wait for it because I hate Brock Lesnar. He he was found guilty of, what was it, a steroid blocker.
Yeah.
And I think someone like John Jones, with his skill set, will absolutely batter his body and then hit him in the face, which he doesn't like. And I can't wait to see it. I really can't wait to see it.
I think if you look at the current business model for the UFC, all they care about is big names, big fights to get things in, to get money in. A year from now, International Fight Week, I put money on Jones versus Lesnar.
He doesn't want to test, though. Lesnar doesn't want to test.
Well, I was just going to come to that there. You know, there's a few hurdles, if you like, in terms of Brock Lesnar coming back. One of them is the testing.
Yep.
One of them is he needs to serve a ban because he immediately retired after, you know, the last fight, Mark Hunt. So therefore, if you've retired, that doesn't constitute you serving your ban.
No.
So he will have to announce that he's unretired.
Yep.
He'll probably have to go through some form of testing.
Into the USADA pool.
Into the USADA
pool, and he'd have to serve his time. So
which is why
we don't know what, you know, WWE and everything. They've got a long history or rumoured history. We don't know what happens there, but hopefully he can come back clean from there.
It's at least a year, and he can't sign with WWE. He can't fight in UFC, so he won't be earning for over a year.
Well, his contract is up with WWE after the next WrestleMania.
Which is why he's talking this bullshit now, to get a nice little WWE contract where he can take what he wants and not get hurt very badly.
He was still in WWE when he fought Hunt. So I personally think in a year's time he'll be back. Too much money for him to miss out on.
In how long?
A year's time.
In a year.
Yeah.
Careful what you wish for.
Yeah, that's what he said, didn't he?
Well, I won't be watching.
Yes, you
will. Of course I
will.
I'd like to see Jones fight someone at heavyweight first.
Really?
Because while I think he'd be a beast at heavyweight, and we all see how hench he gets when he gets on the deadlifts, I'd like to see how he copes with having that extra weight on him in a competitive MMA fight.
Right.
Well, he's naturally 230 pounds, he said, isn't he? You know, he cuts from 230.
Right.
So it would be interesting to see him there. But then there's this. I know Dana White said flat out no in the post-fight press conference about the new weight classes.
Right.
And one of the proposed new weight classes is a division between light heavy and heavy of 225.
Yep.
So we'll have to see what happens. I know Dana says no one day and then next day changes his mind. So
yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit.
Or just lies.
So it'd be interesting to see, but I agree with you, Chutney.
Well, linking to light heavyweight, we'll talk about the other light heavyweight bout on the main card on the weekend, which was our boy Jimmy getting taken out by Volkan. Who saw that coming?
I didn't see it coming. You know, Jimmy's been on a little bit of a tear lately.
Yep.
You know, he was the standby fighter on the card if anything happened with DC and Johnny Bones Jones, which it could have happened up to the fight. And then Volkan took no time, as his nickname says, to absolutely blitz our boy. That's what Jimmy's been doing to folks, so it was quite a shock. It was almost a Krokop Gonzaga moment where Gonzaga knocked him out with a head kick, you know, when it was shoe on the other foot, so to speak, role reversal.
What do you think, Chutney?
It might be unfair to say, but it looked like that Manu was found to be a one-trick pony and couldn't handle the clinch.
Yeah.
He was in the clinch. He had his right palm on your man's shoulder.
Volkan. Volkan.
And these punches were coming in, and he was doing nothing about them. He should be pulling on his neck, keeping him close in some kind of tie clinch or something, and just wasn't doing it. Just had his hand on his collarbone.
Yeah.
And he was just asking for that coming in.
I think Jimmy Manoa is a bit of a one-trick pony, if I'm honest.
You think he is?
Yeah, I think as soon as he hits anyone in the top 5, he's always been found wanting. Gus, Anthony Johnson, Volkan. I think against the lower level guys, he just runs through them. But I think against a quality mixed martial artist, I think he gets found out.
You know what's funny? I was watching Manchester City's YouTube page, and he was training Otamendi.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And he was training him in exactly the same one trick that you boys are calling out here. You know, the clinch. The clinch.
Yeah.
And it was the hand on the shoulder to elbow to the face. And it was like, is that all he's got?
Yeah, you got to defend that, mate.
You've got to defend, but
Otamendi would definitely take him out.
Well, I hope he doesn't use it on the football pitch.
Well, yeah, let's hope so. So what's happening then with Volkan next?
Volkan, the sky's the limit. You know, he's took no time to get to top 5.
Yep.
You know, he's just beat the guy who was on standby for Mr. Bones Jones and Cormier.
Yep.
So, you know, you can't forget about Gustafsson.
Yep.
But I'd throw him in there with either a Gustafsson or a Glover Teixeira.
Yep.
I'd love to see that fight. I think they both got a similar, you know, style against stand-up. I think he's one fight off though, Volkan.
Fighting for the title.
Fighting for the title. I know Jimmy was you know, he'd got this pecking, but I think he's just one more fight off before he's there, and maybe that will, if Brock Lesnar is the route for John Jones, you know, we need to know the timescales and everything. Maybe Volkan fits in there, maybe he doesn't before then, but, you know, the sky's the limit for no time.
What do you do with him, Chutney?
Well, Gustafsson deserves the next shot. He's taken the slow and steady route, deserves it. Teixeira sounds like a good shout.
Yep.
I'm looking at the rankings now, and you see Shogun up there in 6th.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
Which is great, this comeback he's having. I think that would be interesting to decide what route the whole division's going.
I think it's a shame that the best fighter on the planet is in such a weak division at the moment. I think the only real challenge for Jones in that division is Gustafsson. And I think it's probably not really a challenge. But
why is it not a challenge?
I think he was he was party boy last time he fought him. He was out doing what he shouldn't have been doing days before the fight.
What did you make of Jones talking about Cormier after the fight?
Do
you believe him?
No. No.
You know what, though?
He is, yeah.
He has to be the bigger man, though.
He has to be at that point.
He's broken so many rules that he's got to show them, you know, I am the bigger man and I respect him. Whether he does or doesn't, he said the right thing.
Definitely said the perfect things.
The perfect thing.
Perfect. It was believable
he was
for someone who
believable.
doesn't know him.
Yeah.
He's always believable, though, isn't he?
Yeah.
Definitely. Now, whether he goes out afterwards on the whiff or whatever, that's his prerogative. But as far as the UFC goes, he said everything right.
Would you stick in for his last fight? Potentially is DC versus Jimmy.
Possibly, you know.
Bit of an aggro between them, isn't there?
It was on the cards before John Bones, you know, was cleared.
Yep.
You know, it'd be a nice fight. How old is DC? Is he 39?
38.
38?
Yeah.
So
about your age, mate.
My age, okay. Shout out to Dave Maloney. You know, it's a good fight, but you know, I'd like to see him one more fight. Don't know where Jimmy goes. Jimmy's getting on a bit as well.
Yeah, he is actually.
You know, I think he's 37-ish.
Yeah, he was a late starter. You're right. Yeah.
Late starter. You can't be getting knocked out like that though if you're a late starter. I don't think Jimmy hangs in there with DC, so you know, I can't see much more for either of them. So a retirement. Loser retires. Maybe.
Loser leaves town.
Loser leaves town.
What do you do with Manoa, Chutz?
I think that's a good call. That.
Thanks, mate.
On Cormier. Manoa's, I think he's been found out a bit.
Yep.
I'm not saying he hasn't got much to offer, because those left hook finishes are beautiful to watch.
Yeah, he's a powerful man. I think for DC, he'll either fight Jimmy or go up to heavyweight and get some big names and some big paydays before he calls it quits.
I've got no problem with him, for the record. I've got no problem with him. I'm not going to judge him for carrying on, and I'd never call for a fighter to end their career.
Yep.
I'm just suggesting that might be the right move for him.
Yep.
But whatever he wants to do.
Well, I think you're right, because I think he might think, I'm never going to be champion in that division, so...
It's not going to be BJ Penn heartbreak if he has another fight and loses it.
No. Talking about heartbreak, Dana White sounded heartbroken after the welterweight title fight on Saturday. T. Wood versus Damian Maia. I think on our first ever podcast, is predicted that he'd run through Maia. It wasn't really like that in the end, unfortunately. It was a bit of a slow-paced fight. What do you think about it?
I'll be honest with you. I stayed up for the live event here in the UK.
Yep. 3
a.m. start. Great card. And then the one fight I fell asleep for was Tyrone Woodley versus Damian Maia. Woke up at the end of it and then watched it the next morning.
Yep.
honestly, there was an impressive element to it, which was the takedown defense of T Wood.
How many?
21, I read.
Yeah,
21.
crazy.
I think it's. I heard more, but yeah,
Yeah,
a lot.
around that figure. Yeah, 21,
Okay,
24.
you know, unbelievable. But he was not engaging with him on the floor, and fair play to him, because the people who have engaged with him, Condit,
Everyone.
everyone
Yeah.
have been submitted.
Yeah.
So, he has to protect his title to some element. But I was expecting a big boom.
Yep.
And when it didn't come in round 1, 2, 3, I don't even think I lasted that long, to be fair. So, Dana White's spoken about it, hasn't he? He wasn't best pleased, but I'll let you guys chat on about
Shouldn't
it.
you're a big Maya fan, from what I remember.
Dana White, he's always got the fighters' backs, hasn't he?
Yeah. We'll come to what his view in a second. What do you think about Maya and his approach to the fight?
Well, I watched it yesterday afternoon, and I also fell asleep because it was fucking boring. Maya did exactly what you'd expect him to do: grab an ankle, grab an arm,
Yeah.
grab anything to try and bring him down. Woodley just too strong. If that was a 3-round fight, that would be a really interesting observation of different skill sets.
Chess match time.
Yeah,
I've
exactly.
still only seen one round of it.
Well, maybe, but it was limited to what we could enjoy.
Yep.
T Wood has got skills, and it's not just knockout power.
Yep.
And it's not even just wrestling. He's got a lot of skills, but in the last couple of fights, or the last 3 fights,
Yep.
because he's been fighting these very particular skill set guys, we've not seen it. And he's, as he said himself, he's desperate to fight a freestyle fighter so he can just let it all go and really see what he's made of. But he's not going to make himself any fans, and he's not going to be making much money if he's headlining cards and getting pay-per-view points.
So isn't it the challenger's prerogative to go in there and really try and win the title from the champion? Just devil's advocate.
It should be, because, as a judge, you're always looking for something. If the championship, in the championship fight, if the champion is fighting, it is their prerogative. You've got to do something to win that title from them.
Because we're coming out of this now, and Maya hasn't had any criticism for his approach, whereas the champion has had all the criticism. So it's just a bit of a weird context how the challenger, who didn't really do much in terms of attacking, isn't getting criticism.
I think there's something about T Wood as well.
Yep.
I think he's rubbing the wrong people up the wrong way.
Yep.
Dana White is clearly not happy with him, and therefore, fight after fight, when he's crossing these powers that be, if you like, he's becoming the bad guy.
Yep.
But remember, this is Damian Maia in this situation again. Do you remember in Dubai when he fought Anderson Silva?
Exactly the same,
It was
wasn't it?
exactly the same. And, it was Anderson Silva who's to blame again.
Yep.
Why is Anderson Silva playing around?
That's
and
right.
Why is he dancing around? And why is he not pushing forward? Who wants to push forward and lose their title with a guy who's a, high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? I think we've spoken before on the podcast. He's probably the top guy.
Yep.
As
terms
far
of
as
jiu-jitsu,
jiu-jitsu goes. So, why would you risk that? If there's a percentage risk where he's better than you. Tyron Woodley is a top wrestler. He's a top boxer. His stand-ups, on point. Why would he risk anything? Why would he want to take it out of them elements to go and play with Mr. Jiu-Jitsu?
It depends what he wants, though. If he wants to keep his championship belt, or put on entertaining fights and make money as a result, become a star. I don't blame him for what he did.
No.
But he's still going to pay the price.
Yeah, I agree.
But Dana could say what I said. 2 different skill sets. Fascinating observation of how they interact. Styles make fights. All these lines, all these cliches he can pull out. But he doesn't back his fighters.
No, I think you're right. I think there's obviously some friction between Dana and Tyrone Woodley. It's just interesting in the current state of the UFC. There's probably 2 or 3 genuine household names, and I don't think Dana promotes his champions particularly well.
Yeah,
and like Chutney's saying, he should be coming out with a bit different rhetoric in regards to what that fight was, but he's just thrown him under the bus.
And if you list his champions as well, he's had words with Mighty Mouse.
Yeah.
He's had words with John Jones. Apparently they'd not spoken in the last 12 months or whatever it was.
John Jones said he
not-
would only speak to Harry Emanuel from now on.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Right.
All right, did they not hug and make up afterwards?
After the fight.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah,
That's what I saw before.
I think in the post-fight,
Oh,
they both come out. They've had words. You know, they've hugged and made up. I can't remember if it was Dana who said that or John Jones said that, but they were they're at peace, if you like.
Okay, good.
Sorry, he's thrown me off there. What
Sorry,
was I saying
mate.
then?
You were saying about he's had beef with
Yeah,
T
and
Wood,
Tyrone
Woodley.
Woodley.
Jones.
You know,
So what are you saying there is?
I'm saying he needs to, like you say, he needs to support his champions.
Yep.
Miocic doesn't get much promotion.
Miocic doesn't, but I think his hands do the promotion for him, and I'm impressed every time I see that guy.
But I do think Dana, and talking about Dana in his mysterious ways and throwing people under the bus, it's extremely boring, this approach now, but the U-turns made on Bisping and GSP, it's happening, it's not happening, it's not happening, it's happening now.
Well, the boat had sailed, hadn't it, in the
Yeah.
press conference, and then in the post-fight press conference, he said the ship has done a U-turn, to use your own, wording, has done a U-turn, and the ship has sailed back to Bisping versus GSP, isn't it?
It's so strange because 6 months ago, or maybe a bit longer, before it was announced, who actually wanted to see that fight? And now we've just been, it's been thrown into our throats so much. What do you think, Chutney?
Bisping GSP.
Yeah.
Have they announced that again?
Yep.
When?
After the fight.
Right. Okay.
That's
Shout
what
out
his-
to Oscar Bella.
Yeah.
That's what. So Dana basically said. Someone said, "I thought that ship had sailed." He went, "That ship had sailed, and it's turned round and come back in." T Wood is definitely not fighting GSP.
Right.
Bisping is definitely fighting GSP. Madison Square Garden, probably. And then the winner fights Whittaker.
Yeah, on the back of T Wood's performance, he was so disgusted, because I don't know if you've seen the videos of the what people were doing with their iPhones.
Yeah, they're like
They
messing
were
about.
I
basically
did see
chanting
that, I did see that,
boring,
Yeah.
and then they were with their phones, they were trying to disrupt it. And Dana's seen that,
Yeah.
and he said these people are booing him. They don't want to see him, so Bisping's back in the
Because
mixer.
they said, "Dana, when did you make the decision?" He went, "Round 5." So it was like, as soon as he saw that, he said, "5th round." It's just decided.
That is cruel.
so.
That is cruel. And
But-
so now we're going to see Bisping and GSP. And so what does that add to anything?
Tyrone Woodley called it.
He did, yeah.
In the pre-fight press conference, in the pre-fight press conference, Dana said GSP will fight the winner of Damian Maia and T Wood, and T Wood said no, he's not. He's going to fight Bisping, and he knew it because GSP was a guest on Bisping's podcast.
Ah.
He was a guest on his podcast, and they were talking up, fighting each other.
Yep.
So there's more to it than Dana making his decision in the 5th round. T Wood is not the guy in favour.
No. So what do you do with him next then for the welterweight title? Who's next on for Woodley? Winner of Lawler, Cerrone.
Well, that was the other welterweight fight on there.
Yep.
And you can't look past ruthless Robbie Lawler.
Yep.
Um,
Do you think he's only had one fight since he got KO'd? Do you think it's fair to throw him straight back in?
yeah, he's a legend in my eyes.
Yep.
If you recall, I called him winning. I mean, I was hoping for a knockout because I'm not Cerrone's #1 fan.
Yep.
I was saying to Chutney before we started the podcast. But even in that weight division, Lawler's there or thereabouts, and who wouldn't want to see Tyrone Woodley versus Lawler? That's a headline fight, and maybe he's the guy that Tyrone Woodley needs.
Yep.
In terms of, did you see the way he came out, Lawler?
Mm.
If he comes out like that against Tyrone, we've got a barn burner on our hands.
What did you think of the fight, Chutney? Lawler versus Cerrone.
Good fight.
Yep.
I had it for Lawler.
Did you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had it 2-1 to Lawler first round.
First and third round.
Third round.
I had it for Cerrone, but maybe because I just wanted Cerrone to win more than
Well, the
anything.
third round, I think Cerrone, he might have landed more.
Yep.
But Lawler was constantly coming forward, and the shots he connected were better shots.
I think you're right, and I think Lawler has got this thing in him now where the last round of every fight he just goes mental, doesn't he, and makes sure that the abiding memory for the judges is him winning that last round.
Well, I was watching the fight, and I was thinking, Cerrone's playing a clever fight here. He's getting the right shots in, decent combinations, and enough in each round. And then by the end of it, actually realised that Lawler played the cleverer fight, played it in rounds, rested the second round, finished it in the third. It's risky business. It worked out.
So what do you do with Cerrone now after a loss like that? Still think he's relevant in that welterweight division?
I think Cerrone's got a ticket for life, if you like. You know, he's
company man, isn't he?
he's busted UFC out so many times that, you know, they owe him a favour.
Yep.
And if he calls and he says he wants to fight someone, I think Dana takes his call.
Yep.
You know, if Tyron Woodley calls,
Yeah.
I don't think he takes that call.
No.
But Cerrone, I think he can pick a few fights within, you know, welterweight or even at 155 if he really wants to suck it up and lose weight.
He's still got a lot to offer in that division.
Yeah, definitely. I like him. I just interesting to see what your thoughts are on that.
He's a maniac. And you know, you got to love them. He's they're talking about it during the fight, and I don't think I knew this. Lawler was going for his body a lot, and possibly because he's had a lot of his intestine removed after a motorbike accident.
Yeah, so I'd been part of that. Everyone says he's a bit weak in his guts, and he has been dropped with body shots before, but I never realised that was the reason he was sort of a bit soft there.
It might be the reason.
Yeah, true.
Got worse guts than Dave Maloney.
Maybe.
Wow.
You and Dave, eh? It's a lot of Dave mentions here.
Don't even listen to it. He's not even liked us on Facebook. So
Carlos Condit.
What? He's coming back?
No, not I don't. I want him back.
He's my
I want
boy.
him back. Ariel was saying he's going to try and get him on the show. Hopefully we get some answers.
he's done his Carlos.
But wouldn't
We
it?
won't get answers.
Him
Ariel
versus Cerrone, that'd be a great fight.
Would be.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. The other title fight on UFC 214 was the crowning of Cyborg after she beat Tonya Evinger. What do you think of the fight is?
Thought the fight, you know, first and foremost, respect to Tonya.
Yep.
You know, me personally, I'd picked Cyborg to absolutely blitz her in the first round.
Yep.
But she took one hell of a beating. She
did.
took her licks. You know, Cyborg's a different animal. You know, the fact that UFC have created a full weight division
Cyborg
just for
division.
her. Cyborg division.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we're dealing with here. So, you know, respect to her, but I think anybody is cannon fodder for her, and you know, we'll probably talk about what next in a moment and everything, but it's hard to see any, you know, prospective guys or girls to, you know, go up against her because she's such an animal, such a beast.
So what did you think of her performance, Johnny?
Of Cyborg's performance. Standard, wasn't it?
Yep.
It took a bit longer than I expected, but Tonya Evinger has got a half decent chin. Put a lot of effort in. Took her down a couple of times. Not very effectively after, but you know, got somewhere with her. They ship in girls to fight her. They ship her in because she's
Her name.
because she's terrifying.
Yeah.
And I was looking at her during that fight, and if she came up in front of me, she just looks terrifying. She's got the full look, like even the thick braids, like predator type braids on her.
She has got a scary face, hasn't she?
Purple hair,
Yeah.
tattoos. Yeah, she is scary.
So I think it is the Cyborg division, isn't it? Because there is no one else really out there.
And then they'll ship in Megan Anderson.
Yeah.
Hopefully that was legit. Why she said she didn't want it and or couldn't do it at that time.
So do you think they'll go down that route before the Holly Holm route? Do you think?
What's the Holly Holm route?
Well, I think
her?
bringing Holly in. I think there's a.
Yeah, so Dana's come out after the press conference.
I should watch more of this stuff.
Yeah, and he's basically said Holly Holm is probably next.
Oh right, okay.
But there's three names really for me. There's the Holly Holm route, ex-boxer. She'll stand with Cyborg. It'd be a great, you know, stand-up boxing fight. Cyborg, you know, Freddie Roach came out and said how impressed he was with her boxing style.
Yep.
So, you know, it'd be great to see her in there with an ex-world boxing champion like Holly Holm. There's obviously the Megan route. You know, bring her in if they can get over, you know, whatever the issues were, you know, that she was supposed to be on this card. And then the third one is, what about Jermaine? You know, Jermaine, I know she's come out and she said, I don't want to fight Cyborg. You know, she's a cheater. Yeah. She's on such and such drugs. But it's only one drug test that Cyborg has failed in 2011.
Yeah, a long time ago.
A long time ago.
It sounds like an excuse, doesn't it?
It sounds like an excuse. You know,
I think she's come out since.
She is the champion.
She is, but I don't.
She was.
I don't think she. I think she said she's just dead flat against fighting her.
Which is a shame, really, because you know that is, other than the Holly Holm fight, I don't really know so much about Megan, so I can't really say, you know, how excited I was for that. But I'm excited for Holly Holm. But other than that, it's only Jermaine that, you know, randomly that I was, you know, excited for to watch.
Yeah.
She's got a full-time job.
Yeah, that's crazy. Isn't she? She's a policewoman.
Full-time, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she she can't train as much as she would like. Is her heart in it? She's turning down fights and still has a full-time job.
I think that's what she's saying. She said she wouldn't feel right taking a fight against a known cheater, knowing that she's got such a job as a policewoman. Whether that's, it's probably a bit of a weak excuse, isn't it?
Is it not the good guy versus the bad guy then? The Batman versus the Joker, you know?
Well, yeah. So they were the 5 main fights on the card. We had some great fights in the prelims, didn't we? Anyone see the Ricardo Lamas fight?
Amazing. You know, me personally, I'd pick Jason Knight because he's been on such a tear.
Yep.
You know, some of the guys that he's been knocking off, if you like. You know, he's been, you know, first class. But you know, I'd betted against him, and Ricardo Lamas totally threw my accumulator out because I wasn't expecting it at all. So you know, respect to Lamas. You know, he's got a fan in me, if you like.
He's always there or thereabouts, isn't he?
He is.
Bit of a grinder, but that was a great finish, to be fair. Did you see the fight, Chutney?
Yeah, he's come up against some tough guys.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
He's had a tough run, but beaten some of them along the way. Charles Oliveira, Diego Sanchez, maybe not so much. But the guys he's lost to, Holloway, Mendes, Aldo.
Yep.
His last 3 losses.
So he's no bum, is he?
Well, yeah, but what a division. Jam-packed with killers.
Talking about another killer, did anyone see Aljamain Sterling?
This,
did.
me personally, this was my personal fight of the night.
Really? Over
You
the
know,
Jones fight?
Over the Jones fight, over, you know, the next fight we're going to talk about that was fight at night. You know, I was just so impressed with, you know, Hanan Barrow came out, you know, he's got this reputation, he was the champion from the weight class below.
Yep.
Aljo with a lot to prove, you know, a few years ago he was the next big thing, and then, you know, a loss stopped him in his tracks, if you like. But Aljo really impressed me. His fighting style reminded me a little bit like John Jones. You know, not just the reason that he's black. You know, length. You know, using all the points of, you know, the Muay Thai points, elbows, knees. You know, the full arsenal was on show there, and I was really impressed, especially beating an ex-champion in Hanan Barrow.
Hanan Barrow, do you see it, Chutney?
Yeah, Barrow's he's an ex-champion, but he's one of the victims of USADA, isn't he?
Do you think so?
Him and Johnny Hendricks just are completely different people.
Do you know what? That's not bad. I never really thought about it like that. Yeah, but it's probably about the same time. He's
exactly. Well,
dropped.
He passed out in the bath, didn't he?
Yeah, in a weight cut.
Who's he supposed to fight? Dillashaw?
It was Dillashaw, wasn't it? Yeah.
Killershaw.
Yeah.
And then he missed weight again after that,
I think he did, yeah.
And, well, who knows all the reasons. So it's difficult to compare.
But for a period,
yes, former
he
champion,
was amazing.
and yeah, he defended it a few times. We saw him in Birmingham, didn't we?
That's right. Pickett.
His first fight, I think.
Yeah.
In UFC, 138.
Yeah, because he dropped Pickett and submitted him. We were gutted.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
But yeah, Aljo, he's really good. I do like him.
Fight of the night, winner Ortega with a sub. What do you think of that?
Amazing. That you know, we talked earlier about Damien Mayer's jiu-jitsu and him probably being the top guy, but T-City Brian Ortega is up there with him. You know, and he's on a bit of a run if you want to check. You know, the guys that he's beaten, but he's a finishing machine.
Yep.
You know, the last 4 fights, I think there's 1 TKO stoppage in there and 3, you know, subs, so to speak. So, you know, he's one to watch. I think the next fight for him is an important fight because I think it will be a step-up fight. But Brian Ortega, he's well deserving of, you know, the fight of the night. Both fighters, you know, put it out there, and you know, it was an amazing performance once again. You know, and he's beaten guys like Tavares. That was his TKO. Sorry, it was two stoppages by TKO punches and 1 KO knee, and then 2 submissions. But Tavares.
Wow, you've got
Diego
a good memory.
I'm reading it off here, don't worry.
Wicked memory.
Thiago Tavares, Brandao, Diego Brandao, Clay Guida, and then obviously Renato at 214. So, you know, I think there's a big fight in the offing for T-City.
Did you agree with the fight of the night? Honours it won, Chutney.
Sorry, mate, you've got Maya Woodley on, so I'm feeling a bit sleepy now.
Oh.
I don't know about fight of the night, but I did enjoy it. The submission, I mean, Moicano just kind of threw his head into his arm almost to give him the opportunity. But he took that opportunity, and it took seconds to pull it off.
Yeah.
Straight in, tight, gone. And it did take some work on the ground as well. Very impressive finish.
Cool. Before we move on to boxing and talk about Israel's day trip to London, is there any more call-outs you want to do from the 214 card? Anyone?
Just a big knockout from Drew Dober. He started off the show by beating the People's Champion Josh Burtman.
Is that his nickname?
Who's that?
People's Champion?
Josh Burtman, yeah. I think it's a self.
I never knew.
You know, he give it to himself because he's not my champion. But you know, it's
got to be the end for him, surely.
It's got to be. He was on the early Ultimate Fighters. If you remember, he broke his arm, didn't he? And he couldn't progress. But it was a brutal first round KO by Drew Dober, and you know, he's had a bit of a hit and miss UFC career, so to speak. Few losses, few wins, but you know, he's got me watching. I'm watching from the outside.
Johnny, what would you give the overall show as a rating? What do you think?
Great show.
Yep.
Great show, yeah. Myron Woodley was pretty much the only dark spot on it. Yeah. Just Brock Lesnar, I know you're listening. Stick to the turnbuckles and clotheslines.
Oh. Right, we'll move on to boxing now, gents. I woke up on Sunday morning and watched the recording of Adrian Broner fight Garcia. Broner, the mouth.
The problem.
Yeah, well, I was just pretty disappointed by the lack of performance. He didn't really show up. Is everyone fed up of Broner in his mouth now, or are you still a big fan?
See, there's a funny thing about Broner, you know, and he alluded to it in his post-fight interview. You know, when he got pretty aggressive when the commentator asked him if it was a do or die fight.
Yep.
And his response was, "These people are still going to pay to see me," and he's right. You know, he's a showman.
Yep.
And so people are going to pay to see him, whether he's winning or losing.
Yep.
But the fight, it was so disappointing. You know, take nothing away from Mikey Garcia. In the last podcast, I picked him as well. You know, because he is a different caliber. I think 37 fights now, 30 knockouts. You know, he's undefeated, if you like. You know, the WBC recognised that and they put the diamond belt on the line. But Broner just doesn't turn up unless he's knocking someone out. The quantity of punches is not enough to ever win decisions. And when he comes up against these top guys like Maidana, he's not throwing enough punches to win fights.
Yep.
You know, so he's causing a problem for himself in terms of you know the output.
What did you think, Chutney?
Yeah, well, you say about he gets the numbers in his on the mic after he wanted to thank all the people who came to watch him win the fight and all the people who came to watch him lose. He's still got some flair, but he doesn't do enough with it. Like he says, doesn't throw enough punches. I think he threw half as many as Garcia did. So it was a non-title fight, wasn't it?
No, it was for the WBC light welterweight diamond belt.
What does that mean, diamond?
So what happens is the WBC, there's a WBC champion in Terence Crawford. So shout out to Terence Crawford and Julius Indongo will be fighting in a few weeks' time.
Go on, yep.
That's the actual WBC belt. But you know when this is classed as a super fight. Broner versus Garcia was a super fight.
Yep.
And therefore these super fights they have a diamond belt. Just like Callum Smith in the World Boxing Series, he's going to fight for it. There is a WBC champion in Andre Durrell, but he's going to fight for the Diamond WBC.
Is it like
belt.
an interim?
It's
called Diamond.
It's probably of a higher, you know, there's
Stature.
a higher stature with the belt that comes with having the Diamond belt. But yeah, there's interim belts out there. Boxing.
It's a joke then.
It's more. Beg your pardon.
It's a joke then.
Yeah,
it's not a joke because Ali's fought for the diamond belt before. Golovkin's fought for the diamond belt. Golovkin, Canelo. There's a big dispute with the WBC because they had ordered the Golovkin-Canelo fight.
Yep.
You know, big names have fought for this, and this is historically, it's a big title. But you know, this is the problem with boxing that there's too many belts.
It dilutes it all.
In one division, in one. Association, there's too many belts. One association,
you know, crazy. But the biggest problem is there's a clash between the bodies, the boxing bodies, and the TV guys. Mikey Garcia should be, in theory, now that he's WBC Diamond Champion, he's been doing what he's doing.
Yep.
He should be fighting the winner of Terence Crawford versus Julius Ndongo. However, because he's now left Top Rank and both of them other fighters are with Top Rank, there's going to be a big struggle, political struggle,
to get them to fight.
So, you know, this is why...
Boring, isn't it?
The way it is boring, and this is what I'm worried about UFC. I know it's all under one umbrella and everything, but when you make these interim titles and everything,
it gets messy.
You cause, you know, obviously, what's Whittaker to do while he's waiting for GSP Bisping? I know he's got a knee injury. You know, he's the interim champion now, so in theory he should be fighting Bisping, and this is what's happened in boxing year after year.
Yep, I agree. We mentioned Henan Barrow falling over in the shower, and a bit of a link to Carl Frampton and his opponent, who also bailed in the shower, I believe. So that was a bit of a disappointment. We didn't even get to see the fight, did we?
It was really disappointing, and it started off disappointing because Frampton missed weight, and you know he had his reasons. And
what was his reasons? Did
he come out with an apology that you know
right.
he was struggling to make the weight, but he struggled at the weight division below as well.
Yeah.
So you know this is him moving up as a consequence of him missing weight and struggling with weight. You know, so you know I think they need nutritionists in and such. But you know if anyone's not seen the pictures, you can go on my Twitter at MMA boxing _ you know I've retweeted them and they're quite brutal. He's damaged his gum, he's chipped his tooth.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures.
And,
grim,
and then he's cut his chin as well. So there was no way he was getting, you know, the green light to fight.
It's one of those things, isn't it?
It's one of those things. At least he didn't drop the soap.
Chutney, did you see the Eubanks Jr. fight last week?
I did. Abraham just didn't know what to do with him.
Yep.
Eubank has got a 2-inch reach advantage and made it count when not all do. He penetrated the solid guard of Abraham, who's 10 years his senior. Abraham just ended up being a punch bag for 12 rounds.
Yeah, pretty battered him really, didn't he?
And it's not easy to get past this guard, though. We've seen it before with Paul Smith.
Yep.
Just couldn't get through it, but this is the blueprint. Angles and power, much more other than that. Top quality from Eubank, becoming the boxer we've been waiting to see.
So, listeners, this is the point where we recap from last week, where one of the presenters used to explain that he wasn't bothered about the Mayweather McGregor fight. However, he went on roving reporter duties. Was it last Friday or the Friday before his?
It was the Friday before, yeah.
So, first off, tell us how you are on the McGregor Mayweather party bus now. Are you up for the fight?
No, I'm still not up for the fight. I've long said that the promotion is going to be the best thing about this fight. You know, I think it's only going to go one way, but...
so what was it like in London, mate?
It was amazing.
Was it?
Just solely for the atmosphere.
Yep.
You know, it was amazing. Me, and some of my family members, we decided that we were going to go down.
Yep.
Literally on the Wednesday we decided, you know, the Friday before. The Wednesday before the Friday, the press conference. Went down for a day trip to London, arrived, decided we'll go for something to eat in Nando's. Eubank Jr. sat there next to us.
Right, okay.
You know, let on to Eubank Jr., lovely guy. You know, won his fight against Abraham and now qualified for the World Boxing Series. And then we went out and just hung around, you know, the actual Wembley Arena, and it was just a buzz, you know. It was just green, white and gold. All the Irish fans had either come over, or there's a huge, you know, Irish contingent in the country.
Thousands, I believe, flew over from Dublin. So.
Even guys who didn't have tickets, you know, and it was like a carnival atmosphere.
Yep.
You know, you had the big group waiting outside the hotel, and, you know, you'd see an Artem Lobov go past, you'll see Arthur Abrams, you'll see Chris Eubank Jr., you know, all returning to the same hotel. Then, you know, you got inside and Big Joe Joyce was going, you know, to the showing. Ant Crawler was there. So you saw all these, you know, having to go through the crowds. We got in there and it was unbelievable. You know, anybody who's watched it, I don't know if it comes across, you know, when you watch it live, you know, how hot the atmosphere was. Anything McGregor gone was cheered through, you know, obviously the roof, and anything Mayweather said, it was booed. And it was amazing, absolutely amazing. But, you know, that all being said, how amazing it was, this is the thing that we're going to enjoy about this fight.
Just the lead up.
The build up, the lead up. as far as the fight goes, I'm still against it. I'm still Team Mayweather. That is what's what.
Johnny, what did you think about all 4 shows, the press conferences?
They were good, crossed the line a little bit now and again.
Yep.
When they really didn't need to. But, yeah, great entertainment, weren't they?
Of course they are.
And Mayweather, McGregor,
Yep.
made it his own. They're talking about scoring them.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Mayweather's still got it.
Yeah.
People try and make out that he doesn't. He's definitely still got it when it comes to the trash talking.
He's so thick-skinned as well. He'll just sit there and just absorb it all.
You hear McGregor saying these horrible things to him, often racist things, homophobic things, and all you see is dollar signs in Mayweather's eyes.
Right.
That's all he thinks about is money.
Yeah.
Well, fair enough, it's his name, isn't
Got
it?
to pay the taxman though, hasn't he? So
He certainly does.
So while we probably do a show between now and the main fight to give our views on what will happen, I think we all probably have the same opinion. Is wearing his Money Mayweather t-shirt tonight. So
Money May all day, all day.
Before we sign off then, gents, anything you want to bring to the table?
Well, just on the Mayweather McGregor, breaking news as we're recording this.
Oh.
It's going to be on Sky Box Office. They've won the rights. It was up in the air between ITV Box Office. BT were apparently bidding for it as well.
Yep.
As well as obviously Sky Box Office. Sky Box Office have got it, and they've confirmed that it will be £19.95 in the UK and €24.95 in Ireland. So that's good news, really, because
I thought it'd be more, actually.
Well, apparently Eddie Hearn had come out and said Mayweather wanted 100 nicker for it.
Sterling, English.
100 sterling. But what was that? Sorry.
No one's
Bore off.
Yeah. 3 in the morning, 100 quid.
That's good news really for the fight fans. £20, £25 in Ireland. I'll stay up at that price.
Are you going to stay up, Chutney?
I'll certainly try. I think it's nowadays it's getting up at 4 a.m. rather than staying up, isn't it? Certainly after a couple of beers.
Right then, listeners, well, only thing left to say before we sign off is, for those about to brawl, we salute you.